And we are the HercastleGirls.
Yeah.
We are mindful mavens. We love to talk about mindset, wellness, spirituality, mind, body, spirit connection, all of that stuff.
All that good stuff.
And if you're into that mindset, motivation, and how you can apply all of those things spiritually to your business, to your life, then click on that subscribe button and click that notification bell. And if you are called to, if you watch this video and you love it, leave us a comment down below.
That's it, guys. We love hearing from you. So please do. My hair's attacking me. Please do. Leave us a comment down below.
Today we are recording our podcast, and the podcast is called It's All Connected by HercastleGirls. So you can find us wherever you listen to podcasts. We are there. Just look for us. And today we are talking about inner child. And we are happy to know that we can share what we know with you. This goes in line with a program that we are starting calling it Heal Inner Child. And this program, it will be available on our website where you can find it, purchase it, and start working with us in an on-demand virtual experience where you can learn how to heal your inner child and really elevate your life from that sort of healing that we all need. Everyone needs inner child healing, and we're going to talk more about it in today's episode of It's All Connected by HercastleGirls.
So here we go. No further ado, enjoy. So today on It's All Connected by HercastleGirls, we are talking about healing the inner child. So Car, let's first of all, in case no one knows this, let's get them all up to speed. What is an inner child? Let's start there.
Great question, because it is a term that is heavily used without knowing what it really is.
Right.
So, the inner child is an individual's childlike aspect.
Okay.
So, the inner child is conceived by, the early experiences of the child. Mm-hmm. So everything that the inner child holds, it usually comes from that 0 to 7 years old mark in your life.
Right.
And that's when the subconscious mind is building.
Okay.
So a lot of times we will hear in science even that, the first 5 years of a child's life is so imperative. It is so important.
Right.
And this belief, this method that I first learned through neuro-linguistic programming, of the age group between the age of 0 and 7, this is where everything is created. This is where your beliefs are created. This is where your self-worth is created. And depending on the kind of child life you had, you can either have a lot of trauma, or you can have a lot of abandonment issues. There are a lot of things that can happen in a child's life, only because when you're a child, you are depending on adults to take care of you, to guide you. And unfortunately, I think more than ever, our generation has realized that we have all grown up with parents that perhaps, or guardians, who perhaps could have done with some inner child work, and they never got the opportunity to heal their inner child.
People that raised you, the places you go, this is what makes the inner child. And depending on how you've grown, it can either make you or it can break you.
We hear all the stories all the time. This person is this way because they take after their dad.
Right.
This person's this way because they take after their mom or their grandmother.
Right.
And what we are doing when we say this to kids is we are actually embedding thoughts into the subconscious that you are just like your dad. You are just like your mom. And when we do these things, we're actually helping to build what we're going to have to heal later.
They're making it worse.
I know that we're not out here maliciously telling children, these things. But when we do this, we have to remember kids are truly little walking subconscious minds.
They are little sponges.
They are.
Yeah.
So when you say, for instance, they look like their mom, you say, oh, you are just like your mom.
Yeah.
the child doesn't identify that you meant, oh, I have eyes like my mom.
Right.
But
you're not specific enough to what
right,
it is.
Right.
Okay.
They don't think in that way. They think, okay, so that means I'm narcissistic like my mom. I lie like my mom. My mom couldn't keep my dad because they got a divorce, so I don't deserve love. And it truly builds a full-on...
It's like a trickling.
Inner child work, I believe, must be done all the time. It should be done constantly.
Definitely.
And I will even go as far to say that it should be a necessity in one's life to work on their inner child. And there are many ways to do it, but I feel that everyone should find, what way works for them best.
Yes.
And they should do it.
A lot of people figure, well, I had a great childhood. Because, it goes right over your head, right?
Right. And I do want to say that even if you had a great childhood.
Yeah.
I'm a person that says that, on the general level, I had a great childhood.
Oh, absolutely.
But when I started doing inner work on myself and I realized that even though I had a good childhood because I was good at suppressing a lot of feelings that I had.
Right. And in the end, it just kind of explodes.
Right. So... And this is why I say, even if you believe you had a great childhood, you should still do inner child work.
Yeah. Why do we want to work on healing our inner child?
As we were talking about before, as children, we all experience childhood life in different ways.
Right.
We all have different experiences.
Right.
We all grew up with different family dynamics.
Right.
In different homes. Life, as we know, is not like, the family sitcom with the mom, the dad, the 4-bedroom home, the 4 kids who all have their own bedroom.
Right.
That is not reality. The reality is that life is full of different experiences for everyone.
Right.
These experiences can be generalized overall, where you say, I had a good childhood.
Okay.
Like myself.
Right.
Had a great childhood.
Right.
But in a second, I will show you an archetype that I usually align my childhood with, even though I had a great childhood.
Ah, okay.
So you can have the children that grew up in a balanced home.
Right.
You have children that perhaps, experienced trauma. Unfortunately, some children might go through abuse or... neglect or, being talked down upon, those sort of things. You have children that might have experienced neglect, abandonment. Maybe their parents weren't always there. Maybe they grew up in a situation where they were physically an orphan or they were unwanted. Right. And they might experience these, these negative things that cause emotions to arise.
Okay.
2 of the most dangerous feelings that a human can go through is shame and guilt.
Oh.
And the thing is, with shame and guilt, what a lot of people don't realize is that it travels.
Oh,
we've talked about Dr. Daniel Amen and his work. Yes, his work with dragons and how truly... even your grandparents or your great-grandparents, their traumas can follow through with the DNA to their great-grandchildren and farther on. Right. And the same goes for all of us. We could be carrying the childhood traumas of our parents, our grandparents, and we don't really notice it on a conscious level, because we keep busy with life. We're busy having our own kids. We're busy working. We're busy growing and building. Right. But we're growing and building on a foundation
that's already broken.
With shame and guilt. Right. That just stays buried. And in usual circumstances, these feelings are ignored because, again, we're busy. And we learn how to cope with these feelings like it's natural. Right. So waking up every morning and feeling stressed is natural. Yeah. Having a migraine is natural. We don't realize that perhaps we have these feelings because we are ignoring a deeper problem and we're not really getting to the root of the problem. And in the work that I do with clients, we always talk about the root problem.
Right.
I don't have a good relationship with my sister. Okay, why?
And it's kind of like, I'm sure you have to kind of like chip away.
Right, because
they're never going to tell you straight.
Right.
They probably don't even know either until you get into the subconscious.
They're going to say, well, I don't have a good relationship with her because she always takes my brush.
Okay.
And it's like, well, why does she always take your brush? Because she thinks she's entitled to everything. And I'm like, why does she think she's entitled to everything? Because she always got mom's attention, and mom always gave her more than she gave me. And you start digging and you begin to realize that she actually has a childhood archetype of neglect or abandonment.
Right. There's always a root problem.
There's always a root problem.
But what fascinates me is that even though, you know, like you were showing with the example there of the sister who has a problem with her other sister using her brush.
Yes.
It's just funny how, you know, all of it's bottled up, and even though they know the real reason why, they bury it so far back in their subconscious.
Yes.
That they don't say anything until you like keep chipping away. So finally they're like, well, mom gave her more than she gave me. And then I'm sure they sit there in shock like, oh my God.
Yeah. And the thing is,
oh my God,
a lot of parents or guardians or your aunts and uncles, they do not realize.
Oh, right, yeah.
For the most part, unless there was malicious trauma or, you know, neglect.
Right.
For the most part, parents and guardians don't want to hurt their children.
I don't.
This is why the inner work is so important. It's self-actualization.
Very good.
And tongue twisters today.
Tongue twister.
This is the way how you're going to release the blocks.
Right.
In life, you're wondering, why can't I do this? Why do I get a fear when I do this? Why am I finding it hard to commit in relationships? A lot of it has to do sometimes with our childhood and not working through the traumas that we experience.
Exactly.
Even the idea of hoarding things.
Right, like hanging on to things. Old things that you don't even need anymore. Broken things.
Yes.
You just have them around your house or apartment.
Right. That could do with an inner child piece that needs to be healed.
Right.
And that's why Heal the Inner Child, the program that we have at Bright Mindset Project, is so important, because we go through the steps to heal these problems.
Right.
If you're a people pleaser, if you're a person who has a weak sense of identity, someone who always feels inadequate, if you have problems with committing to a relationship, a career, anything, an idea, if you have issues with commitment, it's an inner child situation. When you have feelings of abandonment, that can also create a lot of issues.
I'm sure.
In your life, in every aspect of your life.
I'm sure, especially with the abandonment, because they're so afraid that they're going to abandon their kids. They end up just actually abandoning their responsibilities out of fear of being abandoned. It's such a twist, but this actually happens. Yeah. A
lot of times we wonder, well, why did this person walk out on their family?
Right.
Why did this person walk out of a great relationship?
Yeah.
It all goes back to that 0 to 7 years old part of your life. With the program, what we do is clear, we heal, and then we figure out how to help people maintain that healing so that they become more cautious of how they're filling their space.
Right.
Rather than hoarding it with things.
Right.
Hoarding their minds with things.
Yeah.
They can now clear their space and understand, well, what am I bringing into my life mentally, physically, and spiritually that doesn't need to be there?
Okay.
You know, am I forgiving myself? Because when we deal with the guilt and the shame,
normally we don't forgive ourselves.
We don't forgive ourselves. And this course, this program, helps you to go through those processes to begin to understand how to forgive yourself, how to be kinder to yourself, how to find purpose in your life that is for you. not living through your parents, not living through your guardians, not living through the people that came before and said you need to do this to be of value. You can understand how important you are. You can understand that you truly are a confident human being.
Right.
And you can have a clear picture of your values, again, without outside validation.
That's a need.
It's
right
a need, and this is why I created this program, because I do feel that it's time for people to start that process in healing.
Yeah, I think it's time to normalize getting the work done for your inner child. I mean, imagine if everyone got like inner child work.
The world would be a lot different, and a lot of people that thought that they would make horrible parents.
They would have been parents.
They would have been parents. They would have stayed in the right relationships. They would have had the courage to do the things that they always dreamt of doing. It truly is the foundation of mindset and spiritual work that everyone should do.
Oh yes, absolutely. I don't know how many of our viewers here on It's All Connected by HercastleGirls and on our YouTube channel, I'm not sure how many of them know what this next part of our topic is about, but archetypes.
Yes.
This was new to me when you told me a few months ago, and I was like, oh, that's actually really fascinating. So I was wondering if you could just give like a quick rundown as to what it is, just to get everyone up to speed.
Sure. So archetypes have been around actually for a very long time.
Okay.
It's a very an ancient way of looking at a person's persona, a person's, basically their aura, everything about them.
Right.
It's very ancient, but it is so true and telling of now. Mm-hmm. And I use this method in my practice.
Right.
Caroline Myss is the woman that has sort of brought it into modern times.
Okay.
And basically what archetypes are on a basic level, they are a psychological pattern taken from historical roles in life. Ooh. Like mother, child, mystic, prostitute, and servant. And they can also be based on events or situations like initiation, death, or rebirth. And basically this is a system where everyone has pieces of these roles that show up in their life at either certain times of their life or certain events.
Okay.
And they don't only tie to the actual, obvious thing.
Right.
Like if you have an archetype of teacher, it doesn't mean that you're going to become a teacher at a school.
Right.
It can mean that you have a persona where you should be sharing information with people.
Okay, yes.
And you could be doing that at your job. You could be doing that as a missionary, with
as a parent.
As a parent.
Yeah.
There are different ways that you could step into your teacher archetype.
Oh, very cool. Yes.
So with inner child work, I like to start with clients trying to figure out what their inner child archetype is.
Okay.
Now, child in archetypes, there's a whole stack. There's like 52 cards.
Oh, wow.
Of different archetypes.
Right.
The only one that has multiple is child. And that's because the child, again, as we were saying, it's a levels. Exactly.
That's what it is.
Levels upon levels.
Yes.
So we have actually 6 cards. Wow. We have 6 cards that represent the child.
Oh my goodness.
And
I wanted to pull one.
You know what? Let me tell you. Do you want to know which one I get all the time?
Yeah, okay.
Even when I try not to.
Hilarious. Okay.
So I know that I have a very strong tie. And remember, I told you all that I had a great childhood.
Right.
I had a great childhood. However, I always get the orphan card.
Interesting.
Child orphan. So child orphan. So what I should say about archetypes is archetypes are just like the world, just like the universe. There is light and there is shadow.
Right.
So there's good and bad with everything. There is nothing that is purely good, nothing that is purely bad. Everything is a good and a bad in balance.
Yeah, everything's in balance.
Such are archetypes. So with this archetype, the light attribute is independence based on learning to go it alone, conquering fear of surviving. So that's a great attribute.
Sounds pretty good.
Right?
Yeah.
That's great. And I identify with that piece of this card.
Right.
I've always been a very independent person, not afraid to go it alone.
Right.
Have no fear of having to survive on my own.
Yeah.
It's a great attribute. However, there is a shadow to this card.
Oh boy.
And the shadow attribute is feelings of abandonment that stifle maturity. Seeking inappropriate surrogate families. So, wow. This card also means on a general level, and Carolyn Miss has written an entire book on the idea of archetypes.
Yes.
And there is a card deck and everything. I use the card deck with clients to help them start the inner child work. Because we need to know what these archetypes are first.
Okay.
And to see where this is showing up in their life.
Right.
And for me, a shadow attribute that I know I had, because I kept on getting the orphan card, is that I had a big problem with settling in groups. Big groups of friends. And that's something up to 2 years ago, and up to this day still, I work on it. It's like, Carcia, you need to have loads of friends. You need to be connected to a load of people. It's healthy.
It is healthy. But you know what it almost is too? Because, when it comes to like big groups of friends, you also want a group of friends that have quality over
and that's
quantity.
It. But the thing is, yes, no, and that is true. I'm not saying that, everyone needs to have a load of friends. But when you decide that I need to be independent in my life to the point where if my car breaks down, I'm not going to call anyone. I will sit there and wait for someone to pick me up because I'm waving my hand. You're endangering your life at that point. Oh, yeah. Simply because you don't want to use the light attributes of this card. It's great to be independent.
It is.
But independence, too much of it, pushes people away. Yeah. And it can be, detrimental to you building great relationship. Everyone has a child. Everyone has a child. Right. It's one of our survival archetypes. Right. We have 4. And child is one of the 4. So you will eventually, you do have a child card. Oh. Go ahead and choose one.
Okay. All right, everyone.
I just shuffled the cards.
Yeah, I didn't see. So everyone listening, I'm now going to pull a card on YouTube. You got it.
Okay, this is a great card.
Okay. That's
this is a great card. The light attribute is a great is great here. Of course, there is a shadow. So, you got the magical child. And this is a great card. So, seeing the potential for sacred beauty in all things. The belief that everything is possible. So I do see this in you. You're a very faithful person.
That's why I'm laughing. Because I'm like, oh gosh.
You're a very faithful person. The shadow attribute is pessimism, depression, and disbelief in miracles, believing that energy and action are not required for growth. So it's definitely either I have a load of faith today, and then tomorrow you could be like,
sometimes
why bother?
Yeah. Sometimes it's like back to back.
Yes.
Sometimes I'll be like, I got all the faith in the world, and then like 2 minutes after saying that, I feel like, oh god. Yes. And then it's like back on again. I always thought it was a Gemini thing, but I guess it's more than that. It's just like a thing.
It's a thing because it has to do with the experiences.
That is insane.
It has to do with the experiences, not just, when you were born. So the other child archetypes are child wounded, child divine, child eternal, and child nature. Okay. Child wounded awakens compassion and desire to serve other wounded children. Opens the learning path for forgiveness. The shadow attribute to this is wounded children blame all dysfunctional relationships on childhood wounds, resists moving on through to forgiveness. So again, it's the opposite. You either forgive or you don't forgive. That's the wounded child. Okay. The divine child, innocence, purity, and redemption, suggests a special connection with the divine. And then the shadow attribute is an inability to defend oneself against negative forces. So again, this is, one that you have to watch for. Are you finding that you have more of the light attributes or shadow ones?
Right.
And if you have the shadow ones, what are the triggers?
Right.
And then child eternal, the light attribute is determination to remain young in body, mind, and spirit, which is great.
That's great.
Ability to see things with fresh eyes. The shadow attribute is the inability to grow up and to be responsible. Extreme dependency on others for physical security. And I have pulled this card a few times.
I feel that a lot. I think everyone has that. Now listening to, especially the shadow part.
Yes.
I think a lot of people, some way or another,
yes,
depend physically on other people. I think
yes,
that's especially these days.
Yes, this card is actually very popular to our generation.
I agree 100%.
Yeah. And then the nature child. Friendships with animals. Communication with nature spirits. The shadow attribute is a tendency to abuse animals, people, and the environment.
That's a major opposite.
So, again,
that's
way.
A major opposite.
And so that's like a little tiptoe into the archetypes for most times, especially when you want to know where to start. Because again, like we were saying, the child is a very
it's a large,
yes,
it's a lot.
And that's why, again, Heal Inner Child, this program by Bright Mindset Project, the hope is that we are going to help people to come to a realization that they can get past the shadows.
They can.
And they can step into their light. They can begin to analyze themselves and be aware.
That's it. And I love that. I love what you just said, because that's the thing. We all have the light and the shadow. We're human. Sometimes emotions go high and things happen. But to know that you can identify the triggers, so when you sense something coming on, you can just be like, you know what? I'm going to either walk away from this, or I'm going to go meditate, or I'm going to change the subject, or whatever it is, to get yourself back on track.
If this program is of interest to you and you want to learn more, I do invite people to visit our website, brightmindsetproject.com, and look at our section called courses, and you will see the information there and how to purchase Heal Inner Child. Again, this is a great place to start your mindset spiritual journey, and myself and Telly, of course, are going to be there all the way for you, supporting you through your journey.
Absolutely.
It's exciting. It's an exciting thing to finally learn and kind of start collaborating with your subconscious mind. Start collaborating with your spirit rather than shutting it down. Welcome it more into your life and really create a connection within yourself to open up your life and bring in a lot more good.
Oh, that inner child.
It's a challenge that we should all put ourselves to. Inner child work is important. It matters. Let's get with it. Let's do it. Let's not be afraid, because in doing this work, when you have that self-awareness, when you start becoming aware of the space around you, how are you feeling your time? How are you feeling your space? How do you really feel about yourself?
That's it.
What sort of confidence do you have in yourself every day? And it's all based on that 0 to 7 years old.
It's just always fascinates me how, although it's a little kid, you have no idea how much information they're taking in.
I believe that the more work you do on your inner child, the better parent you become, the better spouse, the better partner, the better human being you become when you do this work. Hey, check us out on brightmindsetproject.com.
Thank you so much, everyone, for listening and for watching. Feel free to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Check out Bright Mindset Project for the latest course that's coming out. We cannot wait to see you guys there, and all of us just fixing ourselves to make ourselves better humans, because the world could really use some pretty good humans right now. Leave a comment down below. Give us a thumbs up.
Thanks again for all of your support. We are your favorite mindful mavens.
That we are.
Don't forget to click subscribe before the video is completely over. We really want to see you back every week joining us. Thank you again, Soulful Creators. We will see you next week.
See you next week, guys. Take care. Bye.